Hi, I'm LaRosa, and for our next problem, we're going to be finding the perimeter of an isosceles triangle. So I'm going to read the problem written on the board. You have an isosceles right triangle. The hypotenuse is 10 feet long. Determine the length of the two legs of the triangle rounded to the nearest tenth. Then determine the perimeter of the triangle. So the first thing we want to do in solving this problem is to draw an isosceles right triangle. In reading the problem, it tells us the hypotenuse is 10 feet long. The hypotenuse, we know, is always the opposite of the right angle. So the longer side of the triangle is the hypotenuse, which is 10 feet. Determine the length of the two legs of the triangle. So we're looking for x and x. And this is an isosceles right triangle, which means we have a 90-degree angle. And we know that in a triangle, all three angles add up to equal 180 degrees. So when we have one 90-degree angle, we know that each of the two opposite side angles are 45 degrees. Now the next thing that we need to do in solving this problem is to use the Pythagorean theorem. And the Pythagorean theorem states that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The c is always the hypotenuse. So in looking at this triangle, our c would be 10 feet. And a and b are always the two opposite legs. And it doesn't matter which leg you choose. So we use a and b. Now we need to put our information into the Pythagorean theorem to solve the problem. So we have a squared, which is x squared, plus b squared, which is x squared, equals c squared, and c is 10 feet. So we have equals 10 feet squared. Now we have x squared plus x squared, which gives us 2x squared, equals 10 feet squared. Now we know that 2x squared equals 10 feet squared. And when we solve out 10 feet squared, that gives us 10 times 10, which is 100 feet. Now in order to get x by itself, we must divide both sides by 2. So x, when we divide both sides by 2, the 2's cancel out. So we now have x squared equals 100 feet divided by 2. 100 divided by 2 is 50. So x squared equals 50 feet. Now we need to get just x, not x squared. So in order to do that, we must find the square root of both x and 50. So when we take the square root of x squared and the square root of 50, we have x equals radical 50 feet. Now, when we solve for radical 50, x equals 7.07 feet. So that is our answer for x. So each one of these, the length of both sides is 7.1 feet. So that means that both x, a, and b on this diagram, both x equal 7.1 feet. Now the next part of our problem is telling us to determine the perimeter of the triangle. Now in any perimeter, we know, or in solving for perimeter, we know that means add up all the sides. So P equals, when we add up all three sides of the triangle, 7.1 feet plus 7.1 plus 10 feet. So when we add that up, one plus 1 is 2. 7 plus 7 is 14. And then 2. So our final answer for perimeter is 24.2 feet. And that's our final answer.